What is crack-a-lackin', Hardwood Knocks listeners? I am Dan Valley coming at you with some Donovan Mitchell news. But first, very quickly, please, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to this channel. Hit that button right below. Like, comment on this video to help the algorithm love us back a little bit. It means a lot if you could continue helping us build this community here. We have ambitious goals, and it helps a ton if you subscribe. Back to the news, though, and it's Donovan Mitchell related. Talks have cooled per Woj between the Knicks and Jazz. I think everyone still expects New York to be the favorite to get Donovan Mitchell. This is the time of year, even though Woj says the teams haven't spoken in 2 weeks. That might be an overstatement. Also, executives are taking vacation. Woj did, however, note two other teams that have kind of joined the race or been mentioned, and they really haven't been discussed at length before now, even if they were sort of proposed destinations. The first, and they are Charlotte and Washington. Charlotte is fascinating here because you look at a LaMelo Ball and Donovan Mitchell backcourt. I really like it. I like the idea of what they could do on offense together. Donovan Mitchell is really good off the ball. I think LaMelo Ball is eventually going to be a pretty good defender and at least has the size to go after and the length to guard the toughest backcourt assignment. Doesn't necessarily make life easier on Donovan Mitchell. And this isn't like, having Gary Payton II or somebody cover up for, or Marcus Smart cover up for Donovan Mitchell. But their offensive fit together is really good. And I don't think that they would be a bad defensive fit, especially when you kind of take in LaMelo Ball's rebounding there. The question, though, is can the Hornets get Donovan Mitchell? And I would just advocate that if you could, go ahead and get him just because he fits your timeline. 3 years left on his deal. He and LaMelo Ball, like I said, good fit. Gives you two, I would argue, all NBA caliber players if everything pans out for them down the line. And that's a great place to really build your team and get back to the playoffs and maybe make some noise in the Eastern Conference. That being said, the Hornets package is just, it's tough to envision right now. They are, until the Miles Bridges domestic violence case is resolved and the league and the Hornets determine what's going to happen with him, still have no idea. I'm not making it about trying to make it about his money. What he did was absolutely, or is accused of, is absolutely terrible, unconscionable. I don't know what their books are going to look like. We do know that Michael Jordan doesn't want to pay the tax. And if you are going to bring back Miles Bridges, you do have to factor that in. So they're not going to be a team, is my point, that saves Utah a ton of money. And yes, there are only two teams with cap space, but you can save Utah money in semi-lopsided trades. Still without cap space. You're going to basically have to go dollar for dollar here. If you're Charlotte, would be my thinking. That's how cash conscious they would be. And so with Donovan Mitchell at $30.4 million, you're probably looking at trying to get to 26 to 30 in that sweet spot if you're the Hornets. Now you can get there. I don't think you're using Gordon Hayward's salary as the anchor. Maybe Danny Ainge doesn't give a shit about how things ended between Utah and Hayward, so perhaps that's a possibility. But they also have Terry Rozier. He makes 21. He's on the books for $21.5 million. Mason Plumlee 9.1's expiring, and Utah could actually use some center play. They have the expiring of Kelly Oubre Jr. at 12.6. What's an issue here is that their primary salary matching tools are just not going to have long-term appeal to the Jazz, who are clearly trying to rebuild. You do have PJ Washington. He's in the final year of his contract at $5.8 million and extension eligible. Maybe Utah does have interest in him. You can also dangle Kai Jones. You can dangle Mark Williams as well, who you just picked up to man your center spot. Ideally, you're not giving him up because you're trying to make him the center of the future. But if Utah wants Kai Jones or Mark Williams in a Donovan Mitchell deal, you're not in a position to say no. And so you also have James Bouknight, who I'm still kind of intrigued by after watching him during the 2021 Summer League extensively. His value around the league is just, even though he is a top-end lottery prospect relative to his draft order, it's just sort of wonky around the league. You don't know who he is. I think the starting point, though, is you have to be willing to move Washington, Bouknight, and then one of Mark Williams and Kai Jones as your sort of prospect equity, let's call it here. And then you can figure out the money elsewhere. I don't think anyone's off limits aside from LaMelo Ball then in that discussion. And you could also maybe try and fold in some of Utah's other deals with Malik Beasley if you want him and they don't want him on their books, or definitely not Mike Conley, but you want Bojan Bogdanovic. You do at least have, I don't even know if the Jazz would want Terry Rozier because his contract is so long-term. You're probably looking at your best bet, again, unless Danny Ainge really doesn't care about Gordon Hayward and sees him as, hey, maybe we could flip him for value later. It's short-term. You're probably looking at, you can step ladder your way there with Kelly Oubre Jr., Mason Plumlee, PJ Washington, and James Bouknight, and then one of those bigs basically gets you to the salary that you need to match already. what picks are you putting on top of that? You do have your own is gone to Atlanta. It's top 16 protected. Then it's lottery protected for 2 more seasons after that before it turns into 2 seconds. So the first draft pick that you can trade of your own theoretically is in 2025. And that's contingent upon the Atlanta one conveying next year. Otherwise, it gets bounced and bounced and bounced. And so when you build these trades, it's hard to build these conditional commitments because you can't go, they can say 25, 27, and 29. Utah is not guaranteed to get all those picks because of that commitment to Atlanta. The Hornets do have Denver's first in 2023 as well. That's lottery protected for the next 3 years. That's just not going to move the needle. So I think that their package is weaker than the Wizards, than the Knicks, even the Heat, if they decide to get involved in that. Even certainly the Raptors, if they decide to get involved. If there is a way where you can just, ensure, if you could say, okay, that 2023 first round pick, if we get Donovan Mitchell, that's of course going to Atlanta. It might not. And so that's the difficulty for Charlotte. I love the fit. I don't think they have the package necessary to get him. And when you really get into it, what do you have if you're, gutting your roster of its prospects? Your core is, I guess, we'll assume Miles Bridges is back with Donovan Mitchell and LaMelo Ball moving forward. And then one of those bigs. It's a heck of a starting point if Terry Rozier stays there, or if you swing it to Kelly Oubre still there, or Hayward is still there. It's a team that can still be really good. It's going to continue to lack sort of the wing stoppers, especially if you're trading Kelly Oubre Jr. in that deal. So if I'm Charlotte and I can get Donovan Mitchell, I'm going to do it. But I really feel like that's only going to happen if Utah lowers its asking price a great deal and Charlotte simultaneously is willing to go over the top of what other teams might be offering. Let's just say the Knicks draw a hard line in the sand. And I think anywhere that's not the Knicks at this point, if Donovan Mitchell's not there, you're just assuming not that this team beat out the Knicks' offer, though maybe that happens, just that the Knicks remove themselves from the running. So love Donovan Mitchell in Charlotte. Just don't think it's going to happen. Let me know what you think about this rumor, though, in the comment section below. And please remember to subscribe to this channel and check out our other content. Until next time, and as always, I leave you with the shout out to one and only Frank Ntilikina.